Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Whitney and today I want to do a little comparison between the Beauty Blender sponge and the E.L.F. Total Face Sponge. So I love using a sponge for my makeup. Ever since a sponge became a thing, it's been one of my go-tos to do my foundation, my concealer, and even my powders to set my face. So I have gone through a few different sponges in my lifetime, but I always usually go back to the Beauty Blender. So I recently have been watching a couple of videos on YouTube. Juicy Jazz is the one who introduced the E.L.F. Total Face Sponge to me. She said that it was really great and it's only $5. So the Beauty Blender is $20. The E.L.F. sponge is $5. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and give it a try, see how it works out. And today I want to give you my review on both of them and decide which one I think is better. I'm going to go ahead and do my foundation, concealer, and powder the way that I normally would. Except I'm going to do this side of my face with the Beauty Blender and I'm going to do this side of my face with the E.L.F. Total Face Sponge. So I want to give y'all just a little bit of information up front about each sponge. Like I said, the Beauty Blender sponge is $20 and I'm going to show y'all a very close up. It is a very, I'm going to say dense, but soft. It's not very porous. Those are just some gouges from my nails, but typically it's just a nice uniform sponge. It doesn't have too many pores that are visible. Now, the more you use it, the more porous it does become and the more visible those little pores in the sponge become. This is wet, so it doubles in size. And it's got kind of a dome shape on the bottom and a pointed tip. Everybody at this point, I think, knows what a Beauty Blender sponge is. If you don't, this is one. So that's just kind of the basis. It's very squishy. With little effort, I can just squeeze it all the way down and it bounces right back up. I really love this. It does hold on to product. So as I'm using it, it does hold on to product, but not as much as a brush would. So I really enjoy using a Beauty Blender. This side for my face, and then I use the pointed side to get right up underneath my eyes for my concealer. As far as the E.L.F. Total Face Sponge is concerned, it's a little bit different because it's got this slanted edge and then a pointed edge at the top. But this one's not as pointed as the Beauty Blender. So you do kind of have to squeeze it a little more to get underneath the eyes for concealer. I don't have a problem with that because it is very bouncy, just like the Beauty Blender. So it bounces down, it pops right back up. It's just as bouncy. The only difference right off the bat, and I hope y'all can see, is this sponge is a lot more porous right off the bat. So this is a pretty brand new sponge. I've used it a handful of times, but you can see already, I'm going to get in real close, all those little pores. So this sponge does leave, as you're bouncing the makeup in, little marks more than the Beauty Blender does, but they blend out easily the more you blend it in. So did that make any sense? So at first when you blend in, you will get those little spots from the pores on the sponge, but as you pounce, those spots go away. I'm going to show you guys. This sponge is only $5 and this is also doubled in size because this is also wet nail. I do really like this side for my face and this side for under my eyes and for my setting powder. I don't feel like the E.L.F. sponge holds on to as much makeup as the Beauty Blender sponge. So when I'm using this sponge, I feel like more of the product is on my face and not inside of the sponge. So I'm going to show you guys that as well. I have already prepped my face by moisturizing, eye cream, and I've already primed with my Urban Decay Optical Illusion Primer. I'm going to go ahead and go in with my normal foundation that I use every day, which is the E.L.F. Flawless Finish Foundation. I'm almost out of this foundation, so it actually doesn't pump anymore. You can see I'm squeezing it and it doesn't pump out. So I have to just put some on the back of my hand. So I'm just going to take some out. And I'm just going to put it on the back of my hand. One swirl. With my Beauty Blender, I'm going to be doing this side of my face. I'm just going to go in 1 pounds. So you can see it took about half of the product off. And I'm just going to go in and see how much of my face I can cover with this one pump. Well, I say pump, but you know. And you can see that it is giving me some medium coverage. Now this foundation is more of a medium buildable coverage to begin with, but the sponge does make it a little more sheer. So I feel like that's all I'm getting. You can see the amount of product that's on my sponge. Nothing else is coming out. So I'm going to go in with the rest of this foundation right here onto my sponge. And I'm going to finish up this side of my face. Okay, so that one little swirl did do this side of my face, but do you see how much product is still on the sponge? And that's not coming off on my face anymore. It's completely in the sponge now. So I'm going to do the same thing. Get some product, and I'm going to do one twist, and you can see it's basically the same amount of product on my hand. I'm going to go in with the slanted side of the sponge. I'm going to dip in once. There we go. And I'm going to do this side of my face. I feel like right off the bat, it's already giving me a little more coverage than the Beauty Blender side did.
What do y'all think?
Does this side look more full coverage than this side? I feel like you can just see more spots on this side than you can on this side. So I am basically done with the product. Not much else is coming off. I'm going to take the rest and I'm going to finish this side of my face. So each sponge did basically take the same amount of product, but I feel like this side with the E.L.F sponge, more of the product is on my face than this side with the Beauty Blender. And I know that they're different colors, so it's hard to see, but there is so much product I feel like on the Beauty Blender versus the E.L.F sponge. So that's what they look like. I'm going to go ahead and apply my concealers quickly and then blend them out with the sponges to show you guys. Okay, so this is not typically how I would do my forehead or my nose or my chin, but for the sake of this video, so that way I can use two different sponges, this is how I'm doing it. So I would typically go in and just blend. And the coverage is pretty good. It's lightening up the spaces that I want it to. And with the Beauty Blender, because this point is so thin, I can just squeeze it a little bit and go right up underneath that eye. I like to get the crease in my nose because I have a kind of deep set crease. And that, can you tell how it just fits perfectly? Even when I'm not squeezing it. It just fits perfectly right underneath the eye. There we go, we're all blended out. So I'm going to take this one and do the same thing. And can y'all tell if there's any difference as far as the pores on this side of my face, or are there any marks from the sponge? I don't think so. I think once you blend it out, it's perfectly fine. Okay, so the difference is with this sponge, you can tell it's so much bigger underneath my eye. It's very difficult. I have to really pinch it down. And sometimes it's difficult for me with my long fingernails to really get it in there. But with some practice and just doing it over and over with this sponge, I find that I don't really have too much of an issue. So y'all tell me, can you tell a difference in my foundation and concealer from the Beauty Blender? And so this is the Beauty Blender side. and this is the E.L.F. Total Face Sponge side. Do y'all see a difference? I don't. When I'm looking up close into my mirror, I see no difference at all. The only difference is that I feel like this side with the E.L.F. sponge has slightly more coverage than this side with the Beauty Blender sponge. Okay, so now for powder. I'm not gonna lie, typically I use a separate damp sponge for my powders, but for this purpose of this video, I'm gonna show you the powders with each of these. So I'm gonna take my Beauty Blender into my powder. And that worked just great. And I'm gonna take my E.L.F. sponge. God, I feel like the E.L.F. sponge picked up so much more powder. I can kind of set everything all in one. Okay, wow, I wonder if you guys can tell on camera, but this eye looks so much brighter than this eye. So I feel like the powder on the E.L.F. sponge really hit onto my skin and really just set perfectly. It looks blurred. It looks bright. Wow. Can y'all see the difference? That's crazy because I never realized that. That's amazing. So I am going to a birthday party later, so I want to make sure that my eyes are you know, similar. So I'm going to go in with a little bit more of the powder on the E.L.F. sponge and just brighten up this eye as well. That is unbelievable to me, guys. I'm really shocked. I can't, wow. Okay, so that's it, guys. What's your verdict? I really feel like for the price, for the quality of what I'm getting for the final product of my face, the E.L.F. Total Face Sponge is definitely the way to go. It's only $5. The application is beautiful on the skin, and I cannot tell a difference between the application from the Beauty Blender and the application from the E.L.F. Total Face Sponge. So you guys tell me what you think. I'm voting for the $5 E.L.F. sponge. And I do love a good beauty blender, but I don't see a difference in application. And if I can save myself $15, then that's what I'm going to do. So that's it, guys. I hope you like this video. Let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. Subscribe if you haven't already, so that way you don't miss any of my future videos. And thanks for watching. I will catch y'all in the next one. Bye.